Welcome to our daily reflection for this Thursday, July 10th. And today the overarching theme is God's providential care. In the gospel, Jesus will send out the 12 and he tells them, don't worry about where you go, and whatever house you come to, he'll tell them to give a blessing and he'll give them some things to do. But what they really have to do is trust in God's providential care, because they really don't have a clear, detailed, buttoned-down plan. Jesus sends them out, and they're going to have to find those open doors. They're going to have to find those open hearts that want to hear the gospel. And Jesus doesn't make it easy for them. They have to trust in God's fatherly providence for their food and for their care, for their shelter, all those things. The most basic of things they have to radically trust. And that reflects what we find in the story of the first reading from the book of Genesis with Joseph and his brothers. And that is also echoed in the Psalm today, Psalm 105, which is closely aligned with the first reading, which speaks about the wonders that God's providence does. And it speaks about how God had sent Joseph ahead to provide a way for Israel to find food and shelter in the time of the great famine in Egypt. And so by God's providence, Joseph ends up in Egypt. And it seems that, as we know the story well, his brothers sold him out of envy, and they meant it for harm, but God, in his great design, who could see the future, saw this as a way to save Israel and to preserve them during the time of trial that would come in the future with the great famine. And so all these things that take place, even if it's individuals seeking the harm of Joseph, God intends it for good. His providential care is bigger than whatever schemes and plans the wicked may have, that the righteous and the just, the people of God, will be preserved in the end and cared for. And so the whole lesson is look at the story of Joseph and Jacob and Israel, and look at God's providence, his providential care. God knows the future. He is Lord of all, and so we can trust him. And this is exactly why the disciples will trust Jesus as he sends them out. They know not where, and they know not how they're going to be able to sustain their ministry. It's all about God's providential care. And so today, as you hear these stories and reflect on God's word and pray, especially with Psalm 105, let your trust in God's providential care grow in your heart. Where is your anxiety? Where is your fear? And put God's providence in that problem and in that anxiety that you have, and learn not to be afraid. That is the goal of today's prayer, and that's what we're invited to trust in God's fatherly providential care. Do not believe that God foresees the problems you have and that he cares for you. Let's put our trust in him. And I know for us here at the Augustine Institute, we trust in God's providential care. We've seen it with the beautiful campus he provided. And even when we have challenges like our 2 boilers failing, even though they're 7 or 8 years old, we know that we'll find the means. God will provide the means to help us pay for those replacement of those boilers, even if it costs nearly $500,000. And so we trust in God's providence, and we thank all of you who support us through the Mission Circle and your donations. Your providential care allows us to have our ministry, no matter what hiccups we face along the way, like 2 boilers catastrophically failing, even though they were only 7 or 8 years old. So let's trust in God's providential care today. May the Lord bless and keep you.